Hey, how's it going, gang? Nate on the Stone here. Welcome back to my channel and to the 62nd episode of The Rolling Stone. As of this recording, as I am speaking to you right now, the world continues to burn. You can actually feel the flames from the bonfire of civilization that has spread all across the West, but we are not going to let that stop us. We are going to continue to make these videos and post them up until said bonfire reaches the very threshold, the very gate of the stone. And when that happens, I don't know, maybe I will throw myself onto said bonfire like an Indian widow performing suti before the British came in and imperialistically and colonialistically declared that you don't treat women that way anymore. Does that make me imperialistic? Does that make me an appropriator of civilization, of culture? Or does that actually make me a feminist? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. We are locked and loaded this week, and I thought we had to start off talking about Bubba Wallace, who is NASCAR's only black racer, because he made the news. Bubba Wallace did this past week. The whole sordid story started on Sunday, June the 21st. Richard Petty Motorsports, they claimed that they found a quote-unquote rope tied in the fashion of a noose in the garage stall that was assigned to Bubba Wallace at the Talladega Superspeedway all the way down in Alabama. And this, of course, caused a massive panic and massive mea culpas. Richard Petty Motorsports notified the crew chief, who notified NASCAR, who notified Wallace. In fact, the president of NASCAR, a guy by the name of Steve Phelps, actually went to Wallace and told him that, quote, a hate crime had been committed against him. Okay, that's actually what the president of NASCAR said to Bubba Wallace. Without any other evidence or anything about the rest of the story, immediately went to Bubba Wallace and said that a hate crime had been committed against him. In fact, it was taken so seriously that 15 agents of the FBI, 15 agents went down to Talladega and opened an investigation into this finding of a noose in the garage that was assigned to Bubba Wallace. So really think about that. At a time when there is looting and rioting and burning, openly gay state legislators are being beaten to death by the mob, homes are being set on fire, churches are being vandalized, statues are toppling right and left, but the FBI sends 15 agents down to Talladega to look into a supposed hate crime that was committed. I'm not saying that that no agent should have been sent, but I am wondering at 15. That seems like an excessive number. But it turns out that they didn't have to send any agents at all, because, surprise, surprise, it turned out to be fake. It turned out to be another fake hate crime. It was determined by NASCAR and by the FBI that the self-identified noose, or I should say that the rope that was identified by a noose, a rope that had the identity of Noose thrust upon it by Richard Petty Motorsports, was nothing more than a rope attached to the garage door pull. The little lever that you pull down in case the garage door is open and the electricity goes out, you pull that and you can manually shut down the garage door so that thieves don't enter through your garage, rob you blind in the middle of your night. Who knows, maybe truss you and your family up, beat you up a little bit, because worrying about your possessions and the safety of your family, that's just white privilege, don't you know? But that was all that the rope was. It was an ordinary garage door pull. Now, you would have thought that would be the end of the story, but it wasn't. Because it actually gets worse on both ends. Because the conservative website called The Conservative Treehouse, you can find them at theconservativetreehouse.com. highly suggest that you go and look at their stuff. They found photographic evidence. They sent some guys over, they did a little digging and research, and they found that this garage door pull that was, looped so that someone squinting could kind of maybe see it as a noose, it's been there since October of 2019. It's been there for, over half a year. Okay? And that was before that particular garage door stall had even been assigned to Bubba Wallace. No one knew that he was going to get that particular stall. And furthermore, even better, they found that several of those garage door pulls had similar loops in multiple garage door stalls. So there was no evidence that this was some sort of dark conspiracy against Bubba Wallace. But that did not stop Mr. Wallace. In an interview with CNN's Don Lemon, as a matter of fact, Wallace continued to maintain that this was a noose. If you listen to the interview, he says several times, this was a noose, this was a noose. NASCAR and the FBI, they have said that this was a noose, this was a noose. I saw a noose. There was a noose in my garage. And that it was put into the garage, assigned to him. Even though, like I said, there is absolutely no cause and effect here. Now, to be perfectly fair and honest to Mr. Wallace, on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, he did seem to calm down and kind of say, okay, I'm glad that there was no hate crime and that the FBI and NASCAR took this seriously and everything, but even that didn't stop the story. Even Bubba Wallace, seeing the light on this particular non-incident was not enough to kill it, because now you have professional race huckster extraordinaire, the Reverend Al Sharpton, saying that this is not the end of the story, because Reverend Sharpton wants to know, why was Bubba Wallace assigned that particular garage door stall? Like NASCAR, or someone who makes those decisions in NASCAR, knew that particular garage door pull was looped around into something that could conceivably, possibly, maybe be identified as a noose, and then because of that, assigned that particular stall to Bubba Wallace. So this story is not going to go away. This has entered into the mythology of the left. Just like very fine people, not a smidge of corruption, and everything else. This now has entered officially into the canon of progressive mythology. And it's absolutely insane, because this story shows us several things. It teaches us several things. The first thing that it shows is that this is a wonderful time to be alive if you are, in fact, an actual, genuine, honest-to-God, dyed-in-the-wool racist. If you are one of those miserable human beings who actually is racist, an actual racist, we're going back to the actual genuine definition of the word, where you hate an individual just because their skin color is darker than yours, or because they come from one particular part of the world. You don't know anything about them. You don't know their character. You don't know their history. You don't know their life story or anything. I hate him. If you are one of those miserable persons in the world, who are very few and far between now, thank the Lord, this is a wonderful time to be alive. And why? Because you might say, well, that doesn't make much sense, Nate, because you would think that as we are now hypersensitive to everything, where everything could potentially be a race crime, could be a hate crime, you would think that genuine racists would want to be keeping low and everything, right? Because anything that they do could now, anything, no matter how innocent, could come back and bite them on the nose. I mean, good gravy. We have Hispanic truck drivers now just, cracking their knuckles at a stoplight. Someone catches it on camera and says, my gosh, this guy was making the A-OK sign. He's obviously a white supremacist, and he gets fired, right? That's not exactly how I think this is going to work. We have been inundated for years now with fake hate crimes. So many of the hate crimes that were trumpeted by the media, in some cases very prominently, such as at CNN and in the Washington Post, they have been proven time and time again to be fakes. Some of them, okay? I'm not going to read a whole list because I know that you guys don't want to sit in front of your screens listening to one video for 40 minutes, although God knows that I've sometimes tried to make you do that. But just some highlights that I pulled from the internet. There was the openly bisexual student, Taylor Voke, at North Park University who faked hateful notes and emails sent to him supposedly by Trump supporters in 2016. Turns out that he sent those notes and emails to himself. There was the gay church organist who vandalized his own church, St. David's, with a swastika, an anti-gay slur, and a Heil Trump. He was actually arrested in May 2017 when they found out that, yeah, he actually did that to his own church to make it look like he was a victim of a hate crime. There was the Texas waitress who supposedly received an offensive note from police officers targeting Mexicans, but then in July of 2018, she admitted that she made the whole thing up, okay? In this situation where so many trumpeted hate crimes have a day, a 2 week later been declared to be false in some back page article, then the natural reaction of many people when they hear about new race crimes is to say, yeah, right. You know, what friend did you get, to beat you up, a la Jussie Smollett? When is the proof going to come that you actually sent that email to yourself? When are we going to find out that you actually tried to set your own church on fire because to try to make it look like MAGA hat wearing white rednecks just hate black churches? Which also happened actually in 2016. This is why I say that this is a great time to be a racist, if you are one, because now you can do anything you want, and the natural reaction of so many people is going to be, yeah, right, here we go again. What this has done is that it has actually made it harder for us to actually trust our fellow citizens. We should be able, if someone claims, hey, I'm black, a cross was burned in my yard. Or, you know what, someone sent me the picture of a noose. Somebody did this, somebody did that. We should be able to take that on face value. Our natural reaction should be, he's telling the truth. My God, that one of the few actual genuine racists out there has stuck his head up from his prairie dog hole, no offense to prairie dogs, and is spreading his bile among us. That should be our natural reaction, because we should naturally trust our neighbors, trust our countrymen. But this, has made that harder and harder to do. And this, with Bubba Wallace and his story and his doubling down on this nothing story, has just added to that now. It has added to it, making it harder for us to believe our neighbors and our countrymen and our fellow Americans. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that this really, really shows how deep we are in post-truth America. Because think about this again. We know that there was no noose. It was a rope tied in the fashion of a noose. Rick Petty Motorsports later said. The FBI said there's nothing here. NASCAR later came out and said there's nothing here. Bubba Wallace, what does he do? He comes out and he doubles down. There was a noose in my garage. There was a noose in my garage. Didn't matter at first what the FBI said or what NASCAR said. It still doesn't matter what they said to Al Sharpton. He's still out there peddling this story, like I just said. In an objective society, which is what you're supposed to have, once the facts became known, there should be no question. Everyone should be able to say, whew, thank God there was nothing there. I'm glad that this was cleared up and solved. Nothing happened. We are all, for the most part, decent people. Let's all go home and crack open a cold one. Instead, certain people's narratives, their lived experiences, quote unquote, are now more true than the facts. In fact, before Wednesday, Bubba Wallace was actually getting mad when people were raising questions about the story, saying, well, wait a minute, isn't this just a garage door pull? I mean, wasn't this already there since October of 2019? It doesn't seem like you were specifically attacked. He was actually getting mad at people for raising questions, as if this was an attack upon him. People were attacking him because he was black. Again, the facts didn't matter. All that mattered was that he was a black man, he had this supposed experience, and then that was supposed to trump everything else. And when you get down really deep into a post-truth society, that's what happens. The facts don't matter. The truth doesn't matter. All that matters is that certain people's experiences, certain people's perspectives are made a higher priority. They are given more truth value. They are given more worth than the facts or someone else's perspective, someone else's lived experience, which is not equality at all. I shouldn't have to say that, but I will just to make it obvious. That is not an equal society. And that's not specifically against Bubba Wallace either. That's everyone. When you have a post-truth society, some people are automatically going to be more equal than others. And that is where we have arrived. That is story number 1.